So that perspective shift, like you can see this the way that the world and the enemy wants you to see it, or we can see it as still a blessing from the Lord and just trusting in him, right? Because everything we have comes from him anyways, period.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Like Jasper. Brittany and I are going to just be talking today about different things that the Lord's been doing in our lives, that He's really been encouraging us through in our different walks and journeys right now. And our prayer is that you will also be encouraged and that you will just see the magnitude of the Lord through the different things that we're going to share today. So we don't really have any like specific things planned out. We don't have our notes like we normally do. It's literally just a talking podcast of sharing.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't get too silly though, because we're both super sleep deprived. We're running off of like 3-4 hours of sleep each. So,
Maybe
yeah,
that. Yeah.
maybe.
Well, we were talking earlier and just laughing because every time it was almost like I don't know, it's like the words that I wanted to say. That's not the word that came out, which was actually pretty common for me, but some of them were so opposite. What I was saying, like, I'm trying to sleep is what I wanted to say, but I was like, oh, and I was trying to wake up. And I'm like, no, that's not what I was trying to say. It's like my brain wouldn't, I don't even know. Who knows? Who
You're
knows
like,
what
I was
happens,
trying
honestly.
to wake up and yeah, trying to fall back to sleep. So funny.
Yeah.
Happens to me
And
all the time.
I do that. I'm just a mess. Sarah was having to apologize because she dreamed about letting me die terribly. She's like, I gotta tell you this bad dream that I had, and then she starts dying laughing, and she's like, it's really actually not funny. And then she goes on to tell me, like, we're in her house and all these things, and then there was this somebody coming to, like, I don't know, some bad guy, and she grabs her kids and leaves me waddling trying to get off the couch. And I'm like, and she's like, I think I had to apologize to you for that because in my dream, I'm like, I've died laughing. Like the imagery of me trying to get off the couch right before I'm brutally like murdered in your dream, and
Like
you just left me
rocking back
there.
and forth.
Hold on, I'm trying to get up the inertia to get out of this chair. Hold on. Wait, I could ask myself too. Just give me a
Let
minute
it be a
before you
fair
come
game.
in.
Hold on. Pause. Time out.
You know you're wanting to murder me, but I'm not
Meanwhile,
ready. I'm not ready. Hang on just a second.
I had barricaded the kids and I into the back bedroom, locked the doors, moved the bed in front of the door, like,
You
left
know,
you out there for raw meat.
and this was just a dream, but I felt like that's just some uncovering of some things you need to work through with God. That's not okay, ma'am.
Something
That is not okay.
within me.
You know what's worse than that though is that in real life I did something similar. Are you ready? When
In
we
real
were
life.
kids, even if you're not ready, I'm telling you because confession is good. My really good friend, her name was Rochelle. Not was, is Rochelle. She lived through this story, so let me be clear. By the way, I said that.
Poor sweet moment of silence for Rochelle.
Goodness. Rochelle, my friend, has been my friend since like third grade. We're neighbors, like all the things. I did some really horrible stuff to her, actually, when I think about it.
Why is she
But
still friends with you?
I don't know why she's friends with me, honestly. She's probably just, I don't know. Anyways, we went to Daytona on a vacation, and Daytona Beach, she and we grew up right on the Gulf. Well, the Gulf is not open ocean. The Gulf is the Gulf. It's so anytime someone's like, I want to go to the ocean, I'm like, all the locals around here, it's like, it's the Gulf. It's not the ocean. Because you don't contact our little peninsula in Florida. You don't contact the open ocean right here. And so Daytona, however, that's not the case. It is an open ocean. And so I'm saying all that to say is that we've been on the beach our whole life, but Daytona Beach was a whole different thing. And that day it was like this fantastic flat, like sandbar went out really far. And so we had boogie boards. By the way, we were like 12, 10 or 12, like our oldest kids age, I feel like. And we went out with our boogie boards. And because it was really flat sandbar for a long time, we had to go out pretty deep. And where I am, when I was a kid, we went out to the second sandbar really far, like had absolutely no care about Jaws. Like, I'm not going to die here. They don't eat locals. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. We're fine. You didn't even think about it. And yeah, you don't think about these things. And we used to like go dive down deep and go with our hands, my actual hands in the sand and pull up sand dollars and starfish. And now I'm like, ooh, it could be anything.
You remember that giant starfish I pulled up with my toes one time?
Yes. Yes. Now I have to like put my foot on something, and if it feels like it might be a sand dollar, I have to ask my husband to do it because I just can't. But back then, I
Won't
had
squish it.
yeah, zero concerns. And so I really wish that I could pan over and you could see these two dogs just pining for my attention. So, okay, squirrel,
Keep
we're
your
coming.
ADD
We're
under
getting it.
control.
Focus. Focus.
This is supposed to be
Mrs.
a
Blackus.
testimonial.
So we were out very deep to get to the waves because it was very shallow. So we had to go even further out to get to the waves to use our boogie boards. And I felt this huge thing. We're standing there. Anybody knows how to boogie board? I'm looking back at the waves, waiting for the right moment, like I'm a surfer. And this huge thing hits my leg. Boom. And I'm like, and I did not scream because normally my reaction, because I talk so much when I get scared, there's just like, I can't panic. Like I can't even whatever. Not that I don't ever, but in this
Breathe.
moment, I did not scream. I went straight to like, that was large. That was large. Whatever just hit my leg. And then, so Rochelle was to the left of me, and the thing that hit my leg was passing to the left of me. And I look behind, and a fin surfaces. And I'm like, nope. And I didn't even say, but this is the thing. I didn't say anything. I just started
Just
swimming and boogie boarding, and she's screaming, what
you
is
just ditched
it? And I'm
her
like,
with the shark.
I did not even say shark, swim, go, and it was close to
You
her.
just
It had
left her for
already
the dead.
passed me. Yeah. So just know in real life, I'm actually a jerk.
So
Not
I
you're
dream of leaving you for the dead, but you actually leave people for the dead in real life.
actually do. I'm like, I don't have to swim the fastest. I just have to swim faster than you.
Right.
Yeah. I've actually done that. I've actually left someone to possibly die. Thank you, Lord. I actually thanked the Lord this week for all the times that I should have honestly been dead, and His grace kept me going
There's
because there's
time.
been
Yeah.
so many times, so many stupid things. It's like, wow, it really is. It really is. So yeah, yeah.
What's been going on in your life? You wanna start there?
When I was talking about doing this, I was like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to share? And I only really have one cool thing. Well, I have a million cool things, but that popped right to my mind, and it happened yesterday. But I feel like I've talked a long time already. I want you to say something. Can you stop licking me? Go, go, go lay down. Go. Why don't you tell? Do you have something right off? Because I feel like I've talked for a long time. Otherwise, I'll share.
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, I do, but just go for it. You were already starting. Just go for it.
So, I had surgery recently and I'm under restrictions of lifting, right? I'm not supposed to lift more than 15, push, pull, lift to more than 15 pounds. And so, our air conditioner broke, and the huge blessing is that air conditioners are not cheap, and just having access to get another one to me is just a huge blessing. At first, I was looking at it with the perspective of like, this is a huge financial hardship. I don't know what we're going to do. We're in Florida, which is like adjacent to the pits of hell. So hot here that you cannot, in May, it's as hot as it is in August. Like it's so hot here. So it's not really something that, you can just let go for any length of time. So the first perspective shift was that, like the Lord showing me, yes, it's going to be a hard thing, but some people don't even have the choice or the option or the ability or anything like that, right? Like, so that perspective shift, like you can see this the way that the world and the enemy wants you to see it, or we can see it as still a blessing from the Lord and just trusting in Him, right? Because everything we have comes from Him, anyways, period. So I had that perspective shift, and there was several good, cool things. They called when I ordered it. They were like, here's the time frame where it's going to be here, but somebody has to be there to sign for it. And I live out in the middle of nowhere, and my
Yeah.
job is about an hour away, and we're a one-car family kind of deal. So I was really concerned because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be there unless they give me a day and a time. So they gave me a day and a time, and the window was from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm like,
That's helpful.
that's not going to work. So I called, or I messaged the company and was like, hey, I'm just wondering if I can request an afternoon time, or if I cannot, can you please narrow the window for me, like 8 to 12 or something, not the entire day, 12-hour span. And they were super gracious. So here's the other blessing. They called, the company itself was having it shipped from a shipping company. They called the shipping company and spoke to them, and were like, "Oh, actually, we won't have it there. It was supposed to come in 2 weeks." I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Dogs are a distraction. They were chewing on something they're not supposed to. So they said, we can have it actually there tomorrow and they said that they can do between 3 and 5. And I'm like, oh Lord, look at you showing out. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
that is
That's
perfect.
wonderful. Yeah. So I'm all like, thank you, God, for being in the details.
Yeah.
So
Could arrive 2 weeks early and in during the window that you were available? Wow.
yes. Yeah, or that I was gonna it would I mean, I wouldn't have been available, but that was like taking off work was gonna be a lot less, and I
Uh-huh.
could make it happen. I would have had to have made it happen no matter the time frame, but at least knowing, here's the window, I'm not
The
waiting all
window, a
day.
2-hour as opposed to 12-hour, yeah. That
Yes,
makes a big
yes.
difference. Wow.
So,
And to have
I
air conditioning 2 weeks earlier in in,
the
like,
heat
Florida is massive on its
It's
own.
huge. It's huge. So I accepted it, was, really grateful. And then the tomorrow came the next day, and I thought, oh my goodness. Oh, and they also said, and they'll give you a heads up when they're on their way. Well, most delivery people that have given me a heads up, it's been like, hey, I'm about 10 minutes out. And I said, ooh. So they gave me the phone number. And I said, would you mind if it's possible? If it's not, that's okay. But I just wanted to give you a little information, because I never ever call expecting people to have to do something for me, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And I said, I live an hour away. If it's possible for the driver to let me know, when he's on his way an hour out, because they're coming from Tallahassee, which is an hour and a half away. And then I'll know to leave work and know to come. Otherwise, I'll just take off and plan to be there. Absolutely no problem. Sure enough, the driver calls me. He's like, I'm in this town. I've got 4 stops left to make, and then I will be on my way to you. So I was able to leave work, get here. Yeah. So all still huge blessing. So then I call the guy and I'm like, hey, I have a circle driveway. So if you want to pull up as close as you can, like, let's make this delivery easy. Feel free to do that if your truck will fit into our driveway. And he is like real kind of frazzled. You can hear him on the phone. He's like, my lift gate, which is the back part of the truck that is the ramp that they take things off the truck,
Right.
it's broken. It won't go back up. And he's like, I'm having to call a mechanic to come out here to fix it. But as soon as it's done, I'll be on my way to you. And I'm like, no problem. I'm already home. You get here when you get here at this point.
Yeah. Mhm.
So 3 hours later, 3.5 hours later, he pulls up. He's in a semi truck, and it definitely wouldn't have fit in our driveway, the semi truck. We have a big driveway, but not enough for a semi truck to go through. And we live right on the highway, as you know. And it's a people drive crazy on this highway. And so he's on the side of the road, which I'm immediately nervous about, because I'm like, these people, whatever. So he gets out and he's like, my lift gate is still broken. The guy just had whatever the mechanic had to do, basically he just
Get it
did
work.
some kind of thing to get it in so he could get back to Tallahassee. And he's like, so I can't use the gate, I can't use the ramp to get the things off of it. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, is it, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, I just didn't want to have to take this back to Tallahassee and then you have to do all of this again with work. So I thought I would try to just get it
Super
off.
sweet and
Right.
nice.
It was really
I feel
nice.
like so many delivery people would don't care about people like that. Like, I'm sure there's many that do, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
pretty common to just be like, whatever,
Whatever,
Yeah.
your problem, not mine. Yeah. So I'm already, just seeing God's hand of blessing all over it because it really doesn't have to be like that. I could have had a grouchy attitude about being home from work, and I did for a second. Like I could have stayed at work longer, which we just had to buy new air conditioning, so that would be really beneficial to my life right now.
Right.
But the Lord just kept, softening my heart, like to keep the perspective of blessing. This is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so it's these two pallets because we had to get two separate units and they have four boxes each, one giant box, one big box that's not very heavy, and then two small ones. So I'm like, he's like, I can get them off the truck, and but I can't bring them in. I'm not allowed to bring them in. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I get the two little boxes in. I can carry those. They weren't heavy at all, whatever they are, probably hoses. I don't know. And then he takes the two big boxes, but they weren't very heavy, and he walks them up to my door. And I said, I cannot help you because I'm not allowed to lift. I said, but I know you can't come inside, but if you will just set the box on the top of the ledge of my door, I can just push it in. And he said, okay. So he set it on the top of the ledge, where I didn't even have to lift it or finagle with it. And
Yeah.
I pushed it in. I know. All of this is just so like the details to me. I could make this story shorter, but I wouldn't be a crocker, and then the details wouldn't be as awesome. So now we're at the predicament though of the giant box. It's bigger than him. It probably weighs as much as he does. And the height of a semi to the ground is no joke. And so I'm like, Lord, please don't let him get hurt. Like, whatever. So he slides the giant box to the side, like to the edge. He gets down and it has those like plastic straps, that hold on to it, and basically he pulls it to the edge and uses his weight to slide it to the ground. So now it's on the ground. He does it twice. It's on the ground and he kind of waddles it because he can't pick it up either, even if he wanted to pick it up. Like
Right.
he couldn't have picked it up. So he waddles it. So that we're not directly on the highway, because a truck, as we're doing this, doesn't swerve over. And it was a big truck. It was a FedEx truck. And it was like it didn't see the giant semi on the side of the road. And at last minute, like swerved around. And I'm like,
Yes. That's
yeah.
scary.
Yeah. So, anyways, he gets these two things off and he's like, I'm really sorry. And he's like, I basically, there's nothing he can do. He can't really move it any more than anybody else. And he wasn't even supposed to do what he did. I'm
Mhm.
very sure of it.
Yeah.
And so I signed, and he's like, will somebody be coming home? I was like, yeah, my husband will be home soon and he can, I'll just stay here. So my plan was just to sit by the side of the road with these giant boxes.
Because he didn't have, like, a dolly or anything that he
He
could lift
did,
it?
he
Yeah.
had a mechanical hydraulic, like rolling dolly, but there's no gate to get it off the back of the truck. Yeah. So there was he didn't even have like he didn't have a regular dolly. He had the really nice, like it
Yeah.
drives, it puts under the
Right.
forklift and takes it off and sets it where it needs to go.
Uh-huh.
It would have
But,
just come
yeah,
on a
without the
pallet.
ramp on the he couldn't get it down. Yeah.
No. So he's doing me a huge favor in the sense that he just bear hugged this giant thing twice to get it off the thing. And now he's sitting there. And so I'm like, that's my plan. He drives away and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here until somebody can get here to help me because I can't move it. I can't
Was it
do
in the
anything.
actual road or, like, off the
No,
road?
we were like he was parked semi a little bit on the road on the other side of the white line, but he took the stuff off and sort of barrel moved it to the edge of the ditch. So I'm not right in the road, but I'm
Yeah.
at the road, a little bit behind where our mailboxes. So then I get the bright idea, because I had the idea to use one of our boards as a ramp for him so he could have slid it down. But because I couldn't pick anything up, I picked the one board that was, not heavy, and it was flimsy, and it just would have crashed. And so he was like, "Yeah, I can't do it on this one." I was like, "Okay, I'm just trying." So the board's sitting there with me, and I get the genius idea. I'm like praying. I'm like, "Lord, don't let
Lord.
something happen here. I'm just whatever." So I put the board down on the ground because we have gravel and it's in a box. And I take the straps and I'm kind of like wiggling it without picking it up or doing anything, because I know I'm not supposed to get it on the board. Because if it's on the board, it's easier to slide, right? So I'm like feeling like a genius that it's going to take me about, I don't know how long, to get it from the road to my house, the entryway to my house. So I'm like pulling it ever so slightly. And then when I feel like, oh, that might have been more than 15 pounds, I turn around and I'm pulling it with my hands. And about that time, a brown angel showed up. When I say brown, I mean the UPS man pulls into my yard to deliver a non related package that I didn't even remember I had coming. It was medicine. And I think, and anyways, he pulls up, jumps out of his truck. He's like, "You need help with that?" I was like, "Yes, sir." So he gets his dolly, he comes right over, lifts the box, drives it into my house, so I didn't even have to do anything. And then he gets the other one. He said, "This come from FedEx." And I said, "No, sir," because he's UPS. I said, "But FedEx did almost run us over on the road." He's like, "That sounds about right." And he's, like, laughing. So cute. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, you're such an angel. I can't tell you. God is so good." And he was just super gracious. Then he went and got my packages and went on. And you know how the Bible says, like, you entertain angels without knowing it or whatever. I really feel like if he wasn't an angel, which is fine, he was such a good, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do any of that. And he did it. He was like almost excited about it. Like he pulled up, popped his head out the door. "You need help with that?" And I'm like, so anyways, I thought that that was one of the funnest, really cool stories recently that happened, in all the ways that God just showed himself.
Like,
Yeah.
all the details that went into
All the
that.
details. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even down to ordering the package that brought the UPS man
Yeah,
there,
totally.
that he would get there at that exact time, and all that. You
Right?
just see he's just so sweet. He's
Yes,
just so
he
sweet.
is.
So, yeah, anyways,
Thanks
so
for
that was
all the
my
details.
very long story.
No, that was a good story. I loved that. That was awesome. Yeah, I'm surprised you hadn't told me that. Why did you not tell me that story yet? We've talked, like, how many times since yesterday? You've never told me that story.
It just happened yesterday.
I like that I know, but still, we've talked, like, 20 times since yesterday.
That's true. We have talked about it. Yes. There's yeah,
But it was fun to hear it fresh, like, I'm like, "What's gonna happen?
what's
Good
gonna
know."
happen?
Like, usually when you're telling a testimony on here, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know this," like, did just but I'm, like, on the edge of my seat over here, so that was super
Yeah.
fun. I really
So the
enjoyed that.
moral of this story is this: this is not a paid promotion, but you're going to want to use UPS in the future.
What was the other company?
The other company, we bought the air conditioner from Home Depot, but the other company wasn't like a known company. It was a shipping people out of Tallahassee. I don't even know. I don't know
Just
what
like
they
a
were called.
local shipping company?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I should try to find that out and give them. I don't want to call
Give them
because
a
I'm afraid
five-star
what he
review.
did. Yeah, I'm afraid what he did was not right and he was breaking the rules, and I don't want to get him in trouble by
Well, you
thanking
don't have
him.
to give all the details, just say that he went above and beyond and was super helpful, and you
That's
really
true. I could do
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah.
I could do that. That's a good idea. I could do that. Okay. Yeah. So it was super sweet and really so cool when he pulled up. I was like, my goodness. I just couldn't believe that the UPS man was pulling up in the yard while I'm trying to wrangle without
And that
pulling.
he was allowed to, like, maneuver it inside and that he was like, he had the
I don't
equipment.
even know. I don't know if he was allowed, but if he wasn't allowed, he did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't his package. So there's probably not any rules. How about that? About that. I don't know. I guess, I mean, I'm sure that's for their safety delivering things, but either way, clearly both of them were just very selfless and kind and went out of their way. And that's just the Lord's hand in things, because people are not always that way.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. All
love
right,
that.
your turn. What do you share with me? What's
Well,
new?
mine's not like a super fun, interesting story like
No,
that. It's like, oh, it's more of just like what's going on in my life and what the Lord's been doing, that kind of stuff. Um, and you already know all of this, so this is not
I
news
love
to
it though. You know how my
you.
brain is. It might be new. It might be new, even though I already know.
You're right.
Yeah.
Might be like the first time hearing it again.
Like,
It's like what? So, I mean, I feel like we run pretty ragged with our schedules. Like there's just and just like you, there's like schedules are just packed. Like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, like you're having to orchestrate like down to the minute sometimes to plan everything out and get this person like get this kid this to this location and this one to this one and go from here, like all the things, right? And I'm sure that most of our listeners could probably relate because it seems like how life is for everyone
yeah.
this day and age, especially for families with young kids, where they're not driving yet, and so you're the chauffeur and the cook and the house cleaner and the and you have a job and all the things, right?
All the
So
things.
we always pray over our schedules I say every year because we kind of like every school year, but really it's more than that. It's like
Yeah.
anytime there's a lot on our plate, but I mean, every season really, it's like, okay, well, we're starting in like what's on it's supposed to be on our plate. So, um, and in January, we were really praying over our schedule. Like, what are we, is this what we're really supposed to be doing? Didn't really have any clear direction from the Lord that we're supposed to take this off our plate or we're supposed to keep this on our plate or take this one off our plate or keep it like all like listed out every single thing that we had on our plate and didn't really have a clear direction. So we started praying over that in January, just kept pushing through, praying, 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 praying. Well, now here we are, late May, and this is probably going to air sometime in June or July, but it's almost June now. It's late. Tomorrow is the last day of May. So now for almost 6 months, just been praying over our schedule. And I was talking to a friend last week and she just is like, "Well, you know what you need to do?" Just like she's real, just kind of like everything's black and white. She's just kind of like, just whereas me, I feel like I overanalyze everything. I'm like, okay, well, this is such a great opportunity and I can see all the benefits of this. And like I just overanalyze everything and it's torture.
It's
Right?
torture. I know
It's so
exactly what you're talking about. It's like, but if I did this, then I know that I could do. Yeah, I know
right.
exactly
Well,
all the
and then it's
feelings.
like, well, like this other job opportunity came up and our family
Yeah.
really could just like really benefit from having a little extra income right now. And it wasn't like
Yes.
a huge job opportunity. It was
Right.
like one day a week, like I could fit it in, it would work, and it wouldn't bring in a lot of money, but it would bring in a little extra. And it was like, well, maybe this is what the Lord has in plan because we've been praying about, financially, like what to do. And so maybe this is what, and it was a Christian organization. So it just seemed like, oh, this
Yeah.
sounds
Like a
ideal.
blessing. Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of all the other schedule that we're trying to figure out. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and you really, like me, we really pray about our jobs being our ministry. And so
Yes.
it's like
Oh,
when
yeah.
you get offered an opportunity in your job, it, the money side of it is one part, but it's always like, okay, God, are you calling me to this so that this is
Yes.
opening a
Oh,
door for whatever? So that's where that
yeah.
overthinking is like in high,
Yeah.
high gear at that point kind of deal. So
It's
yeah,
in
anyways, I just wanted to,
hyperdrive. Yes, it's going all the speeds. And I think for me personally, and I don't think everyone struggles with this, but for me personally, when a friend asked me to pray for them about something, I could almost always very clearly see what is very black and white for me. I'm praying for them about it. And I'm like, this is the direction that I feel like the Lord is calling them. And it's very simple, like it's not clouded. But when there's something on my heart that's, that I'm just praying over, or whatever, I think because I see all the ins and the outs and my emotions are intertwined with all these different things, it gets really difficult for it to just be black and white for me. It gets to the point of, okay, Lord, I'm praying. Like, I just want to hear a clear, like, yes or no. Like, I just want to do what you would have for me to do. But then
yeah.
it's like, but then in my mind, it's like, maybe the Lord is showing me this, or maybe, and it gets very clouded for me. Like, I think that's why I have to have godly counsel around me because I get so in my head about things.
Yeah, and I think I feel the exact same way, like, I do feel like the when someone asks me to pray for them, I don't necessarily always have and, like, I do, like, there's no it's easy to hear from the Lord about it because there's not all that entanglement. But the other thing that I think that God is trying to break off of you and I and our family is this impossible standard that we hold ourselves to. We in every way that you can have a standard, but mostly I think what happens why we can't hear too is like that depend like it's us making a choice and it then is a domino effect if we make the wrong choice. Like we go into that fleshly mindset that how will that affect my children? How will that affect my husband? How will that affect my our finances? When really none of those things in that way matter when you're talking to the Lord because he has your best interest at heart and you don't have to fear. Fear is not of God, but we sometimes let that be cloudy when it's ourselves.
Yeah.
We yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry. Go on.
Exactly. 100%. I think that's exactly it. And sometimes the Lord just presses something in my heart and I know instantly, right? Like
Yeah, for
when he
sure.
called me to do the apologetic class, I knew. When he called me to do that good news camp, I knew. Like and it's like there's no question about it. But I think when it comes to my children or my job or my schedule or our finances or something that's like a daily routine or it changes our daily routine or does it then it gets to then I start having that like very like it's common for my brain to just kind of start spiraling and thinking about all the different angles and over analyzing and overthinking and all the stuff. And anyways, so for months now I've been praying over our schedule. I hadn't felt one way or the other. I had multiple people, including you, praying over our schedule, like what we're supposed to do. But I was talking to my friend the other day, um, last week sometime. And she said something that like so helped me. She's like, what you really need to do is just write down on a piece of paper everything that you know for sure God has called you to, whether it's, homeschooling or the apologetics class or whatever it is that beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what God has called you to do. And
Right.
then so kind of have a whole list everything here. And then on this side list everything on your schedule, like down to like everything that you do day to day, week to week, month to month, whatever it looks like write it all down. And then a lot is look at the first one where whatever's up there, like piano lessons, right? Okay, well, does our piano lessons allow me? So on my list over here that I know God's called me to do, He's called me to be a wife, He's called me to be a mom, He's called me to homeschool, He's called me to various ministries, to the apologetic class, to this podcast, to I can't even remember right now all the things. I think there's one more. No, that might have been it. Anyways, so it's like I know for sure that he's called me to these things. So when I look at this piano, does it make me not be able to do one or all of these well? Like, does it take away time where I'm like rushing and not able to homeschool my kids to the fullest ability that I know God has called me to do? Or does
Right.
it take away time for studying for this podcast? Or does it take away time for studying for the apologetic class? Or does it take away time for me to be a good wife? Like, does it take, and if it does, then we scratch it off because God knows that those are really wonderful, good, amazing things that we love. But if it's interfering with what I know God has called me to, then it's off the table and there's no question about it. So when she said that, I was like, that's a brilliant idea. So I did that and I went through every single thing on our list and I was able to scratch off quite a few things, including that job opportunity. When I went down to it, the amount of time and commitment and all that, it literally interfered with every single one of my lists. Like a lot of them was like one or two, like, oh yeah, no, I could do that this because that doesn't even overlap at all. But that one was like, and as soon as that happened, it was like the Lord just gave me this complete piece of let it go. The only reason I was considering that job was well, two reasons really was the financial. So it was like a thing of fear within me of like, oh well, we really could use that. So I could grab onto this. But then, well, that's going to interfere with what God has called me to. And the other one, it was like, it sounded like a neat, really great, sweet Christian organization, So I really, really liked that idea of it as well. But that was it. And it was like, well, if my biggest thing for this job comes from a place of fear financially, and it interferes with everything God has called me to do, then it's
Yeah.
completely off the table. And at that moment, like when I did that, everything just fell into place. Like our entire schedule for all these months praying over and stressing over and over analyzing and overthinking. It was as simple as that. And it was so black and white at that point. And it really just it was amazing. It was like life changing
Yeah.
to my heart and brain. And at that moment, I was able to make multiple calls that were kind of hard to say, we love this. This has been such a great thing for us, but this isn't what God has us for right now. And I made multiple of those phone calls and got stuff off our schedule. And I've been maxed out for a couple of years now with our schedule, overwhelmed, stressing from here to there, rushing around. And I'm like, half of this stuff I feel like is just trying to keep up with the Joneses or try not to let my kids get far behind. Or this is a really sweet and wonderful opportunity. I would love for my kids to have this experience,
Right. Right.
but then when you start piling those on top of each other, all of a sudden you're only able to be partly a part-time good mom, right? Because the rest of the time you're like stressed out or like, guys, we gotta get
Yeah.
out the door and we're rushing from here to there. Or like, everything else starts to fail. And my first ministry is my family, right? And if I'm not ministering to my family well, then something's wrong. Then something's gotta change. Right. Like
It's
these
good.
other things, sports and various musical lessons and different stuff like that, none of that ultimately matters what they're going to look back on. I mean, if those things are wonderful and they bring so many good things
Right.
that come out of it. But it's their hearts. And it's those times, the family connections that we have sitting around the dinner table. That's really important to our families to have family dinner at night. And if we're rushing off to this place or that, and we're only get to have family dinner, once or twice a week, then, there's something that's got to give. So that was just really very, very helpful. And that's kind of been a big thing going on in our home, in our hearts.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that everybody who's listening, that's going to resonate with them because they are trying to make decisions in their life too. But really, like as you're speaking, the things that I can see a couple of ways that I think the Lord wants to share with people too about what we all go through in making choices for our life and what we're going to do and how are we going to spend our days and all of that is there's like two things that you can see. There's many things, but two things that are coming to my heart that you can see happening is a lot of times we're confused or muddled about our own choices in our own life because of the flesh, and you can't properly walk or hear the spirit when you're in the flesh. That's for sure. They're at odds with each other. And sometimes, like, I love that this was so clear for you and you knew exactly what to take off of your plate and how God gave you so much peace after taking that leap of faith. But I also believe that the Lord has partnered with us in the gospel. And I know that many times in the questions that I asked the Lord, Freddie and I have prayed over it, and there still wasn't a clear answer. And I think it's because He wants us to make the choice. He partnered with us. So you make the choice and we'll do this together. Are you making the choice because you're doing this with me and
So
I
that
want to
was
walk
when
you
I was
through it?
looking at my schedule, there were some things I was like, it doesn't interfere and it doesn't necessarily make these ministries that God's called me to do better. It doesn't do either. Like it's neutral, right? So then it's like, well, is that so important? And the Lord's not saying no to it, but it's not like, oh, this is really going to bless this ministry. This is going to bless this time. It's just that neutral thing. So then you really have to think about how important this is and financially, your time, how important is it to your children, to your husband, to like all of that, right? At that point, too.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
wasn't just like always a clear no or yes. There
Right.
was kind of like, oh, it's what do I want to do? And I think that there's so much strength in both things about the clear answers because the clear answers are hard. I think sometimes that you have to step out in faith and tell people, no, I can't do this, even though my whole heart wants to, like I just can't do that. That's really hard. But I think it's equally hard to step out in faith about something that is like, I haven't heard the Lord tell me no, and this thing was on my heart. Because so many times David, is told, like, what's on your heart? Let's do that. Like that, go with what the Lord wants to give you the desires of your heart. And when you love him, they begin to align with his will. Not that you can't ever be fleshly, but I think that God, his will isn't just this small thing. His will is partnered with your will when you are a believer, and he wants to walk with you in what you're doing. So, in the times, like if you had picked to keep one of the things that you took off, I think that there would have still been a certain amount of blessing in it because that's how God is, even when where he blesses and he does. I'm not talking
Good.
about like pure disobedience. I'm saying like, oh, okay, well, I think that this neutral thing is I'm going to keep it on my plate. And God's still going to use you through that, but he has his what we talked about with his will, his best offer, right? And like sometimes the things we choose aren't his best offer for us or what he wants for the kingdom. And we kind of have to have that learning curve, whatever it may be. So both ways, like he wants to walk with you in the desires of your heart for him to be glorified. He wants to teach you. He wants to discipline you if you're disobedient. And he wants to give you the strength and the courage to do the hard thing and step out in faith over stuff that you don't want to give up. You don't want to be done with that. And they're good things. Second,
But yeah, that takes obedience and courage. Yeah.
and I think second, what I see here big is the slowing down. I don't think that our day and age that we're doing well at all. We don't, even as Christians, the amount of time, if I were to put a percentage or a dividing line and how much of my time is spent in quality with the Lord and how much is spent driving, how much is spent going to work, how much is spent trying to get food on the table. You know, there's normally the thing that you can see and put your hands on is the thing that you put the time into, and it's like the Lord and your quality time with him where you pray and you sit and you listen and you're quiet and it's just time with God or just reading his word, you're not asking him anything. That is far less of the percentage of my day than it should be, and that is the step of faith that we've got to have. Like my kids don't, your
Like you're
kids
giving the
don't.
Lord your leftovers,
You're left, or
something.
even if you start your day, but it was 20 minutes. That's all you gave the Lord for that day, dedicated. Okay, pause. Don't let the enemy take this and say, "Oh, I had 20 minutes and that was whatever." I'm just making the point that our
Not like you have to
society
spend hours, but if you're just kind of rushing through it and then you don't pray, you
to-do
don't spend time
list.
with the Lord, yeah, for the
Yes.
rest of the day, just checking off that box, yeah.
If sharing
Whether
the
it's 5
gospel,
minutes or even an hour, but it's really just checking off the box or you're just like the time isn't necessarily the the issue there as
it's the
much as the
reverence
heart.
and the surrender. Yes, the surrender to it is what I'm talking about. Like
Mhm,
the time I spent surrendered to the Lord in
mhm.
communion with him, if that is not my paramount desire when I wake up in the morning, then nothing else will fall into place. There won't be anything that falls into the place with God's best offer for me for that day. And I think that we as a society have to do all the lessons, have all the sports, be musically inclined, do the arts, do this, do that. And
Always just trying to keep up. I feel like everyone's just trying to keep up with,
like, I
everything
don't want
that's
them to
going
miss
on.
that.
Yeah, right. That
And
and
at the
that's
end of the
hard.
day, I don't want them to miss the Lord. So we
Yeah.
have to be mindful of that. Is this busyness
I feel like you can
stopping
also train your children accidentally to be addicted to being busy,
a
and then when
hundred
they slow
percent?
down when they slow down, then they get this anxiety of, like, they don't know how to handle
What do
it,
I need? What are we gonna do? What are we doing? My kids are like that. When we're just sitting here in the house, what are we doing today? And I'm like, we're not doing anything. What's
Mhm.
wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. We're just sitting here. We're gonna sit here at the house. But why? Because they were always on the go. And I just love that because there is a call from the Lord to be still and know that He's God, to spend time with Him. That's your favorite verse, I know. And also to trust Him and that if you make a mistake, you have a loving father that is going to guide you. He's not going to forsake you. He will use your mistakes for your good and he will discipline you when needed. All of that, that if we were actually resting in that, the decisions get clouded because we're focused on the decision almost more than the conversation with the Lord about it. Do you know what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say? I'm not
that's
sure if
true.
I articulated that well, but well, I love that. I think that that's really good. And I think that tangible advice of your friend is going to go really far for a lot of people who are struggling and needing
And
to.
not just do it in your head, but to, like, write it down because something about visually and as you're writing down, I was like, "Oh, there's, like, 5 or 6 things on our schedule," but as I was writing it down, it was like, "Oh, well, we also have this, like, once a month, or we have this, like, quarterly," or, like, all that counts. It all counts, like, put it all in there, you know?
then you also see what you've done, like
Mhm.
not realizing how much you've, or maybe you did realize, but then it's in black and white and you're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
that's
Well,
not
and also it's like, the Lord's called us to be stewards of our finances too. And so all of
absolutely.
these things, they take up a lot of money too. Is this a wise investment of our money? Or are we like, should we be investing that somewhere else, or putting that aside, saving that? Like, so it also comes down to that. Like, what has God called you to do? He's called you to spend time with Him. If you're a husband or a wife, He's called you to be their spouse. If you're a parent, to that, whatever else, down to your finances, down to whatever it is. If God has called you to your job, that might be that, or maybe He hasn't necessarily called you to your job, and your job is actually interfering with what He's called you to, and it's time to shift. So I don't know. It was just really very helpful for me because I am in my head a lot.
I think most people are. And I go back to that quote from the author I was reading about spiritual warfare too. And he said, ask yourself the question, is this good? Being kingdom minded, everything we do should
Right.
be a reflection of Christ in us and being able to demonstrate that to the world around us, to our first ministry, which is our family, and to the world around us, because that's our job. But the question is always like, is it good for now? Is it a time, like a temporal thing? Like, is this a good thing for now? Or is it a good thing for now and eternity? And I think we're really good at the now and how whatever, but looking at it for now and eternity, is this setting up? Is this building up? Is it building the kingdom? Is it being used with my gifts? Is this being used as a good steward of not just your finances, but your relationships and your time and everything that is a gift from the Lord? Am I stewarding that well? Or am I really just focused on the temporal? Like right this second, I feel like, this is necessary. And kingdom minded, I think, is the main thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta, that's something that is gonna, a continual process for the Lord to break off us, is to get out of society and your head and flesh and just walk with me in this. And when we walk together, it all falls into place.
Yes. And it's full of peace too.
Yes. Well, but sometimes it's full of, that it's from the Lord, but it's still really hard. You might not have
Yeah,
like,
no,
yeah,
totally. I mean, you can have peace even during hard
absolutely. We
emotions,
had a peace
right? Like,
podcast. Yes. But I just mean, don't think
yeah.
if you're learning and you're
Yeah, it doesn't mean
new,
that it's gonna be easy by any
no,
stretch of the imagination. No.
or that you won't cry or that you won't get
Or that
stressed.
you yes, or that you won't deal with FOMO, like, "Well, we stepped out of this and all of a sudden
Goodness, you're the second person to say that to me in this week, and I did not know what FOMO was. And then I was made fun of because apparently it's not new. I didn't know what that was.
and I'm the one that knows nothing, so I'm impressed that I know something you don't know. Let me just, like, live in this for a moment.
Just
I
for
know
a minute.
something you didn't know.
I did not,
It's
I've
never
never
happened.
heard that. They said FOMO, and I was thinking like frozen yogurt, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about because it didn't make sense to the
So,
con.
if anyone's in Britney's shoes, FOMO means fear of missing out. If you're having fear of missing out on something, FOMO.
Okay, all you hip cool cats, get on the line.
No, but for
Yeah.
real, like, maybe you're dealing with stuff FOMO, you're feeling like, "What if, like, we're gonna miss out on that? Like, all what my kids are gonna get left out because, they're no longer a part of that, or I'm gonna get
What if
left
I
out
don't?
because of this," or yeah, right.
I th- what if we don't? I think will be the biggest killer of walking in the spirit. You'll be
Yeah,
walking in
what
the flesh. What if I don't? Or what if I do? And I think, yeah, I love that. I love that very much. I think that's a good word for people. And just so takeaways from this testimony podcast, I feel like is number one, it's that I think both of these stories, though completely different, right, is that perspective shift. If you want to look at a situation through the lens of the world, through the lens of your flesh, and sometimes even the lens of the unseen demonic type side, because that's happening whether you want to acknowledge it or not. If we want to look through it, then I could tell that exact same story that I told you in a completely different way, in it with a completely different outlook, and honestly, a completely different result. So it all your life and the struggles that you walk through are different based on who you're serving. And if your flesh is being served at that time, that story's way different. If the spirit is in, you're walking in tune with the spirit, then the story is different. And yours is the same thing. Like your perspective on the good things that you were doing shifted to the fact of like, it's not about how good or bad they are. It's about, is this going to further the kingdom and the ministry and gifts that the Lord has given me, in use. So I encourage our listeners just to have ask the Lord to give you let you see your situation from his vantage point, and there will be it's a lot clearer from that view versus our tiny perspective
Yeah.
here. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
I love these. I enjoy these podcasts that we get to do. So hopefully that this resonates with our listeners
Yes.
too.
Agreed. What would you like
Okay.
to pray?
Yes. Oh, praise out. Okay. Heavenly Father, we love you so much. And we just thank you that you are not bound by time, that you are outside of time. You go before us, you're behind us, you encamp all around us, you're within us, you're beside us. We pray today that everyone who's listening will have that perspective shift to see you, to hear you, and to be strengthened by you to walk with you in your spirit, Lord. We want to be able to share the kingdom and the peace that we have and your joy and the hope and the love and the patience and all of the fruit of the spirit, God, that we get to experience because of your kindness and your sacrifice. I pray, God, that everyone who's listening will put your kingdom first in their choices. And Lord, I know that you are a God who rewards and blesses, and I pray that they would be blessed abundantly for it. Give wisdom and guidance to all those who are listening. And we just bless your holy name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.